that is just the tip of the
Wife
iceberg
caught
in
in bed
this
with teen
shocking
students.
Have sex with the other students.
Oh, yeah. Police say a 17-year-old student came forward as well.
17-year student.
Had a sexual relationship with this secretary just
Sexual
months before.
relation.
And how you'll start.
Lied at this point.
We have the latest on this disturbing situation as 31-year-old Alicia Hughes sits in jail and a small town community continues to search for answers, as well as a distraught husband now decides to allegedly move on. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. We've been following this story pretty closely this week out of tiny Randolph County, Indiana. 31-year-old
The original
Alicia
channel
Hughes is now facing 5 counts of child seduction for
Maro
allegedly
wata
sleeping
kapre na
with a
lage.
17-year-old student over a
Aye,
weeks-long
aye.
period. We just showed you that snippet there of that newly released interrogation video where Hughes is sitting with a Randolph County investigator, and we will be exploring the rest of that interview together. But we do have to acknowledge that this arrest did not happen right away. In fact, when police arrived at Hughes' home earlier that same day, which was Valentine's Day, by the way, it was for a completely different reason. So we're going to revisit how we got to this point, and there's a lot to unpack here as we break down what we know about this situation as it continues to develop. Now, in the overnight hours of Valentine's Day, Saturday, February 14th, the Union City Police Department is notified of an alleged battery involving 31-year-old Alicia Hughes and her husband. They share 3 young boys together. Now, when officers arrived on scene, they learned that just hours prior, Hughes' husband walked in on her, allegedly having sex with a teenager. He was 18 years old, but he was also a student at the public school where she works as a secretary. Police say Hughes' husband confronted the pair and things allegedly got violent. During the alleged altercation, Alicia Hughes was reportedly beaten. Now, what makes this situation even worse is that 18-year-old man allegedly involved is actually a student at Randolph Eastern School Corporation. That's the same nearby public school district where Hughes is working as an attendance secretary. And at this point, Hughes' husband allegedly endures the heartbreak of his life just before Valentine's Day. And now you have a battery investigation that is actively underway, we are told, by the Randolph County Sheriff's Department. Now, cheating allegations of this nature, they are shocking, they're heartbreaking. There frankly is no excuse for it. But then you think about who she was allegedly doing it with, a student who is a teenager but is 18 years old. So at that point, charges were not filed against Hughes because that student was 18 years old and legally was an adult. But that is not where the story ends. And frankly, when it comes to the criminal investigation, it was just beginning because later that same day, a probable cause affidavit revealed that a follow-up investigation was requested on a complaint of child seduction, which in Indiana law means that an adult in authority had sexual contact with a minor. The affidavit says an interview was then conducted at the Union City Police Department with a 17-year-old male victim. Here's how a Randolph County investigator described the interview in the court document, quote, JV1
reporting himself as absent with
He's a senior at Union City Senior High School. He advised September 2025 he had called the school to report himself absent. The Union City High School attendance secretary. Alicia is
January victim stated he received a text message from unknown number accusing of not really being sick. Juveni victim 1 discovered that was the person's cell number of others.
Cell number of Hughes. Now, the affidavit continues to go into more detail about Hughes's alleged relationship with the 17-year-old student. It says, quote, JV1 stated that the communication between him and Hughes was just a regular conversation. You met in the Union City
was just a regular conversation. The two met in the Union City Harter Park and just had normal conversation. Stated that the conversation changed.
Hughes at the Union Union City Dollar General store. JV1 stated Hughes was wearing a dress and entered his vehicle, straddling him while he was seated in the driver's seat. JV1 undid his pants straddling him while he was seated in the driver's seat. JV1 undid his pants, and the two had sexual intercourse for the first time. I want you to remember that part about Dollar General and the parking lot, because that will come up here in a little bit when we start to dive into this shocking interrogation video that we have acquired.
Interrogation
JV1
video.
stated that he and Hughes had sexual intercourse 4 additional times. That would bring the number to 5. Important when you think of the charges here that Hughes is facing. Once in
After
Hughes's
additional
residence,
time, once in
JV1's
once in
car, on the
JV,
street in front of
on
Hughes's
the
residence,
street in
and
front
twice
of
in
his
Harder
residence, and
Park
twice
near
in
the
Hyder
soccer
Park
field.
near the
JV1 stated he ended the
He ended the sexual relationship around the first week of November. All of the sexual encounter occurred within the Union City, Indiana city limits.
Now, that student reportedly attends that same school that Hughes works at as a secretary. The whole situation allegedly leads to this violent altercation that leaves Hughes allegedly beaten. But again, no charges have been filed as of yet. We have just been told an investigation into that part of the story is ongoing. Now, an investigator learns that Hughes not only allegedly had sex with one high school student, but 2, and that second student who Hughes allegedly had sex with on at least 5 occasions is a minor. And according to Indiana law, 16 years old, that is the legal age of consent. But in this situation, it is illegal for an adult in a position of authority to have sexual contact with anyone under the age of 18. And a school secretary falls under that category. Now, it's still February 14th. Now, later in the afternoon, it's around 4:17, and Hughes herself arrives at the Union City Police Department for an interview, and here is how it started.
Crying. Telling stories husband.
I'm leaving with you and Chief, and I need to resign. He said, I know. We were like, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna be strong. Go your hands. I'll do my job. I can write up and figure out my end of things, and we'll be in contact and go from there. And I said, I'm never meant to do the horrible first. I'm never to be like that. There's no justifying it, but he found me up and mentally and physically abused by dealing for so long, and that attention was there. As stupid as that sounds, that's where I'm at, and now we're here.
Now, the interrogation footage, it's tough to decipher at times just because the audio or the microphone must have been in the room. Hughes appears to begin the interview explaining that she confided in this 18-year-old student that she was allegedly caught sleeping with, telling him about her marital problems, and she said that she needed to resign from the school. She claims that the student reassured her everything would work out. She then tells the investigator that while there's no justifying her actions, she claims that she was physically and mentally abused by her husband. We have not heard his side of the story. Now, I want to continue on with the interview. Listen to this.
So this is going on summer.
Yeah, but a physical thing happened going on. She was indicating or anything like that.
This is the first time you've had a physical relationship with a student?
This is the third time that I've been with him. Not before he was 18. This is the third time I've physically been with him.
31-year-old Alicia Hughes says that she was allegedly in sexual contact with the 18-year-old
Sexual
student
contact with 18-year-old student.
This in itself is not criminal, but there's no denying it is disturbing, and it always stands out to me in situations like this where it seems almost unclear whether she knows the amount of trouble that she's in because she is just so conversational and relaxed as she's talking to this member of law enforcement. Now, here is where the investigator brings up the allegations made by the 17-year-old student that came into the station earlier that day.
17-year-old student.
I have sex with the other students.
Oh, no.
Are you sure about that?
The name of that 17-year-old was likely redacted from the interview because he's legally a minor, but Hughes then begins to explain her alleged interactions with him.
I have never been, but the one sitting with it wasn't having like an affair with how emotional it was.
Did you ever send him pictures?
Yes.
But you never had sex with him?
No.
Never met him at dollar store parking lot?
Yes, I have met him, but I never slept with him.
So what did you do?
I just watched him, I hung out with him, and I was very alone.
So, how long did that last?
Maybe a couple months, but after school started, I don't even remember exactly from September to October, November.
And how did it all start?
I mean, I'm not really here at this point.
I didn't
Maybe at this
laugh.
point, this is where Hughes realizes she could have some very serious legal problems because
Serious
she
legal
tells the
problem.
investigator that she didn't have sex with the 17-year-old student, but she did admit
Sex
to allegedly sending him
17-year-old
photos and meeting up with him over a weeks-long period. I think this could be important looking at this case going on because of the nature of those photos, whether law enforcement has them, if they're able to extract them from the cell phone of the 17-year-old or from Hughes herself. That could mean some more serious charges added to what she's already facing, potentially including CSAM, child sex abuse material, but we'll see how that part of the story plays out in the days and weeks to come. Now, back to the interrogation video. When the investigator asked how their interactions began, Hughes said she needed a lawyer. And at this point, the investigator had heard enough.
You were under arrest